All right, everyone, and we're going to be joined today, continuing Black History Month, by my friends Lee and Christine. Let's get started. How are you doing today?
I'm very fine, thank you very much. And you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm super excited about today's episode, and I'm so happy that you are able to take time out of your day to join us.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So let's start off with, who are you and what do you do?
Okay, so first of all, I'm Christine Eruokwu. I'm originally from Nigeria, and I came to Canada in 2014 for my Master's in Business Administration at UMBSJ. And after that, I stayed back here. I have a family here, my husband and 3 lovely daughters, and we all reside in St. John. And I work with Prud Inc., and that's Pride of Race, Unity, and
That's fine.
Pride of Race, Unity, Dignity through education. And what we do basically is just to help both newcomers and Canadian-born race to overcome barriers to education and any other barriers they could be facing. And we focus basically on cultural and social education and empowerment. And my role at Prud is Newcomer Women Development Program Coordinator. What that simply means is empowering our newcomers when they come in here to help them thrive in whatever careers or the passion that they're interested in. And then when I'm not doing that, I also run other organizations like United Colors of Fashion. So it's a nonprofit that helps immigrant entrepreneurs in the fashion business grow their brand and build a thriving economy for themselves here. So basically we do that through a two-pronged approach. One is teaching them how to sew, and then on the other hand, we showcase their talents on the stage through annual fashion shows.
Oh, wow.
And then when I'm not doing that, then I'm working on Kaima Designs. And I'm working on Kaima Designs, and so this is one of my designs. So it's
this is lovely.
Thank you very much. It's an African-inspired fashion brand that tells the story about my heritage. So
explain to me that. What does that mean? How does this describe your heritage?
Okay, so for example, what I'm wearing right now is called Ankara fabric. So we call it Ankara, which is Ankara, so like the capital of Turkey, right? So what it does is it's originally created for the Dutch, but Africans adopted it, and it became one of our foremost outfits. And so today it's now produced in China and also in Africa.
Wow.
And so we call it African print because we could create different designs, love lines, 100% cotton. And the good thing about it is that it's always very colorful. So I tell people that if you've not been to Africa, particularly Nigeria, then you could see Nigeria and Africa through the lenses of my eyes and through what I do. So if you look at the background of what we have here, this is a typical kente fabric from Ghana, and it tells of the story. So there's some symmetrical patterns that they follow to tell different stories. For the benefit of this, I'm not able to tell all of that, but every print sometimes tells stories of the people, the culture, especially when they're traditional outfits. And so when I left the shores of Africa and came down here, I didn't want to lose touch with my heritage and my roots. So I wanted to bring them here and then showcase that to the community in which I now call home. And the only way I could do that was through Kaima Designs. And I've been doing that in the last 5 years.
I love that. So thank you so much. What a wonderful story. Let's back up for a minute. Let's talk a little bit about Prud and the job that you're doing at Prud. So first question is, what made you get involved with Prud? Why is this important for you?
That's a very good question because people ask me sometimes, why did you leave the corporate world to go to a nonprofit? As in, like, you have a business degree, right? And I said, yes. So a business degree, you could work in any organization because at the end of the day, it's promoting the bottom line. But with a nonprofit like Prud, when I came in as an international student, I volunteered at Prud, and I love the concept of what Prud does because it's an organization that provides like a voice for the voiceless, and I wanted to be a part of that. I sometimes consider myself a form of an advocate. And so I needed a platform to raise my voice and help other people raise their voices. And the only place I could do that was at Prud. And when I got into Prud, I found that it was even much more because I walked into a team of great people. We call ourselves a family. And it's a place that, you come in not sure what to do. You always have someone to support you. One of the best things about working at Prod is the only organization that I've worked in that I never felt like an outsider. Because as an African, as Black, when I get there, I have an equal playing level with every other person. So I have colleagues. We have about 11 staffs from 10 different countries. So everyone,
diverse,
exactly.
so diverse, so
when you talk about diversity, inclusion,
Yes, sure.
equity, Prude is an embodiment of all of that, And so every day I go to work, I have a mission. My mission is to further the mission of Prude, and then to kind of like expand the vision and the scope it promotes, right? And so I think working at Prude helps me fulfill my passion and my destiny, really, because I get a chance to work with women from all over the country, all over the world.
It's fantastic.
It is, because now I don't have to go to Mexico or go to Ecuador or go to Brazil to know what's going on. So these women enrich our culture at Prude, and so we continue to grow as a diverse group of friends and a family.
Right. And so how long have you been a part of Prude?
I joined Prude last year, so that will be, yes, I joined in late 2021, October of 2021, so I'm just barely a year.
Barely, okay.
Yeah, about
and what
a
would
year.
you like to see in terms of community and bridging the gaps on diversity?
So far, I think I would say that Prude is well positioned at the moment, to reach and leverage its relationship in the community. But again, more could be done. So, for example, this period we're celebrating Black History Month,
Yes.
and some communities are supporting us. We're working together, trying to create events. It's not enough to just like it on social media. We want people to get involved, because Black History Month provides an opportunity for us to educate and enlighten the community in which we live in. So if we have a long list of programs and activities and people are not showing up to learn, and then again, we've not done our job, And so it's one thing for us to create this programming. It's another for people in the community to be a part of it. But I would say at the same time that we have some great partnership with some organizations in the community. So, for example, like Imperial Theater, JD Irving, we have some organizations that are rallying around to help ensure that our events continue to grow and expand. And again, we're the premises of the New Brunswick Black History Society, very strong ally, and we continue to collaborate and educate and enlighten the community in which we work.
Absolutely, and that's what it's all about. So I guess if you could see anything change in the community, what would you like to see?
Okay, so...
Or if there's anything we can do better in the community.
Okay, so I think I say this often, maybe because, again, especially during Black History Month,
Of course.
So we've had our history, right? And it's been a tough one for many of us, but we can't dwell in the past. The only way to make the most of the sacrifices of our forefathers and parents is to empower the present youth
Agreed.
and the generation. And one way we could do that is through education and mentorship. So we want to be able to provide the right information. We want to provide education on their culture, on their history. This could be done in schools. It's not enough to learn about the culture of Canada, the US. We want to know African heritage. Where exactly do you come? What do you know about African countries? People often think that Africa is a country, but it's a continent of about 53 countries, right?
Of course.
But we don't know what are the components of those countries. What do you know about them? Most of the world's resources today come from Africa, but people don't know where they come from. And one of the things, again, I say this again because every time I see those UN videos portraying Africans as people always needing aid, it breaks my heart. And when Africans come in here, we always see them as people who are beggarly and looking for aids, and oftentimes those discrimination and racism, it's very easy to perpetrate. But when people get to know the value that immigrants, especially economic immigrants, that they bring into the country and begin to kind of like follow their stories, then it'll be a lot easier to appreciate the value they've brought into the country. And then they'll begin to understand better ways to work with the Blacks as a whole, and then continue to provide support, mentorship, and allyship at every levels, both at the institutional level and at the government levels as well. So again, we need support, not just financial, but support as in like people being conscious of some of the ways they can play roles that impact not just the generations, but generations to come.
Absolutely.
And one big way to do that is through education and knowledge sharing.
So do you think in education, and do you think that by having such an amazing, diverse group over here at Prude, that the messages are getting out there in a great, diverse way? I'd say so.
Yes, to a large extent, yes. And but we need partners and allies to echo exactly what we're doing. So it's not enough to say it, like it, but reshare, get opportunities to get more people to come in. And again, organizations can actually improve their hiring processes. I've seen cases where people come in and like, well, they're not as diverse as they want to be because they don't understand. When you don't understand, seek knowledge. Find people in the community with the right information, and they're ready to help. So one of such person, for example, will be Shona Cole. She has a business called Hiring Diverse. So she provides information for employers and teaches them how to hire diverse and walk them through a process to help make their employees, welcome and be more included in the policies. It's not enough to hire and say, oh, well, we're diverse, but how are you including the people you're hiring? Because that's when you begin to talk about the equity in it. Because we see a lot of people from the Black communities, they get a good role, but they never grow beyond the role for years because, oh, well, you're okay where you are, but you don't really have the right culture. You don't understand the culture enough to get to the managerial level. But how can we change those things? Through education.
Through education and knowledge, because knowledge is power. So what in your personal opinion, what are some things that folks can do in terms of education? Would it be hiring more folks? Would it be including more diversity in classes that are being taught? Because you talk a little bit about the school. So would you echo that from school to university to employment? Would it be maybe some classes that folks can take?
I think it would be a combination of those and even more. So again, starting from classes. So let's start from the elementary school. If we believe that our children are the future leaders and then we need to build a solid foundation for them, then let's start the education from the grassroots, as we would say. So from the schools, from the elementary through to the university, it'll be great for them to get to know. Then organizations can get a chance to participate in DEI courses, training, and then occasionally for those of us in St. John, we could come into Black History Society premises here, speak to Ralph. He has a lot of information, a wealth of information that you could get, at the finger of your tips. So I think the bottom line is people should seek out that information themselves. We don't have to wait until it's February to say, now let's do something for Black history. No, we should be celebrated throughout the year.
Year long, sure.
It should be a year-long activity. And so the bottom line is everyone should seek that education. If you need help, reach out, and there's always someone to help.
So in terms of Prude, can anybody just call and then
absolutely
get some help?
That's right. And that's what we do at Prude, really, because we understand the need. There's a gap in the community, and we try to bridge that cultural and social gaps. And so people could just walk in. We encourage people to come into Prude, even if you don't call, without booking an appointment.
Oh, you could just walk in?
You could just walk right in, and then we'll give you a tour of the facility, and then you get to meet the staff. And then if you have any questions, anything, sometimes we have clients who come in, and we don't have services for them, but we refer them to our partner organizations that will be there to help them. Because at the end of the day, our role is to lead them in the right direction and continue to bridge the gaps that exist in our community.
Absolutely. So anybody is welcome. Anybody can come in. And if we don't have what's needed here, you can point them into the right direction. But it's a good stepping stone for folks looking to get connected.
Absolutely.
As part of the Prude family. And I think we just have about a minute left, but I guess, is there anything else that you can think of that you want folks to know in terms of connectivity or community?
Okay, yes. I think one thing I would say is a community cannot stand on its own. Everyone needs a partner, and we cannot grow as a community on our own without the support of the host community. And so again, we just want to continue to leverage our partnerships, want to leverage our relationship to make our city a better place for all.
Absolutely, where everybody belongs and everybody, it doesn't, exactly.
Irrespective of your race, who you are, where you come from, there's always something of value that someone brings to the table. We need to know what that is. We need to give everyone a chance, an opportunity to showcase their value, their talent, and then add them to the overall community building efforts.
Christine, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate everything that you do for our community.
Thank you very much.
We're so lucky to have you and your beautiful family.
Thank you very much.
Lee, so nice to see you again.
It's so nice to see you.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute. How has things been?
Oh, it's been fabulous. I know life is like a roller coaster, but in a fun way.
You're always busy. I love your energy, your passion, your dedication to the community. You're always doing a million things, and we're so blessed and grateful to have you here.
Well, thank you for making that comment. Yeah, it's kind of like in that way. If I trace back my 20 years being in Zhejiang, or 21 years, and always doing multiple different things. But that's the part of what I like in this community. And then once you are connected, and then you want to be connected more. And so enable you to do more and to yourself, to grow yourself, and also to help others to grow in our community. So that's what I'm doing. I think I'm just riding along the roller coasters, which I enjoy in life.
Absolutely. So I think I'll ask the question that everybody watching the show right now is probably wondering: where did you get this fantastic suit?
This is custom made from China, and then every daughter get loved by their mom. So mom gets custom made, and then I wear it occasionally for a event like this, and make it special.
This is fabulous. Shout out to your mom. This is fantastic. All right. And what is this little medal right here next to your mic?
Oh, yeah. This is a little pin for the Queen's Jubilee medal that I received. But this is a pin, not the medal.
Yes.
I decided to wear it occasionally as well when there's a special event. And just so I remember, I needed to do more to the community. And they gave the medal to me in this year as for the reason would be advancing multiculturalism in this province, and award my dedication. And I later on learned it was nominated by the Lieutenant Governor herself, and I really treasured. And although I thought we had Mr. Thomas sitting in there, I'm just the one that's standing on the top of the giant's shoulder, and trying to do good things. I asked him, I said, Ralph, I don't know if I deserve the medal, and what can I do more? And Ralph said, you just be you, and then, continue to be yourself, and then do the work that you believe in.
Absolutely. So, and I think that's a key message. So we're going to get into a lot of that over the next little bit, but let's start off with, so you've been in Canada for 21 years.
21 years.
And talk me through your journey. What have you done? What haven't you done is the easier question in 21 years. But let's talk a little bit about your personal journey first.
That's always fascinating to trace back. My time in here was for UNB when I initially started. But unlike many of the newcomers recently arrived with a purpose of staying in here, that was never my purpose at a time. And Canada wasn't really promoting the country as a destination for immigrants. But at the time, Canada promoted a lot, and then to international countries and for international students. So I came in as one of the international students, and studied the language and studied academic courses at UNB Zhejiang. I wasn't going to stay, to be honest, at a time, because I had university education already in China, and I had job offers, and I had all my family connections. that was not a part of the reason. But things started happening. I got involved in the community ever since I was on student council and voted in, and I was very much of a active person on and off campus, engaged with multiple charity and volunteering events during the time. So I guess that was a spark of my community interests from that point, being a student and knowing, wow, this is a place I can actually be myself and do things I love to do with much of a freedom of assembly or speech or get organization. And then from that point on, I stepped into the community and then worked for UNB, worked for business, worked in the community, worked at a newcomer center, and later on worked at a Prude and still now, and then get into business and then selling real estate and working with investors and volunteering in the community. A dozen different things can, just one thing led to another. I guess during the journey of the years, I had many opportunities being offered to other places, but this is probably a magical place. And more, I think, are the people who have offered so much help and held my hand, and so offered additional opportunities that allow me to stay and then make me wanting to stay in here. It's like a magic. And people would be wondering why you're in here, still in Sanjiang. And by the way, my phone number never changed in 21 years because I don't owe people money. So it was the same phone number I used in 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Now people start contacting me from Vancouver, overseas, or in Toronto. They had already moved out, right? They loved Sanjiang, but for whatever reason, they couldn't stay, or they had to go elsewhere for opportunities. But now they're coming back, and we are reconnecting with those people because this place seemed to be a destination ever since COVID, happened, and New Brunswick is on the radar and on the map. Many people wanted to come for the lifestyle and then for multiple reasons because it is on the move right now at this region. Another thing I think was my involvement with multiculturalism, with diversity, and meeting different friends from different countries. That really is my interest. My interest is in people. I love to work with people. I love to hear their stories. If I cannot travel to those places, the best thing to do is you hear the stories and then you taste the food and then you shake hands, you go to those cultural events and you try on their clothing with the different fashion styles and you make friends with them.
Absolutely. And so talk me through a little bit about the real estate. What got you into real estate? So your degree was in business from UNB, correct?
No, many people thought so. I am a licensed educator.
Oh, wow.
In the province of New Brunswick.
Okay.
And I had also a university degree and could be teaching in China as well. And my background is literature. So I did a Chinese literature in China and then combined with education degree and came here in Canada. I did an education degree and then I also did a social science and gender study. And then my background is in arts.
Nice. Your background, I think, is in a little bit of everything, which is phenomenal and which is true testament to your character. So what made you decide to dip your hand into real estate, number one, and number two, become a really great real estate agent? Talk me through that.
Opportunities happens, and then when you can grab on it. And then I have never one day doubted that I can do business. All my family members were in business of some sort, in different ways. Family members always wanted me to be in business. That was never my thought.
Okay.
However, there was always an understanding if I want to do something one day, I can pick up and run. And so about maybe this would be 5 years ago, and have to be my business associates right now. And she's been in the real estate for 15 years, Janice Prudy, which is a top agent at Exit. And she's been talking with me about real estate, trying to get me into real estate 3 years prior to 2019.
Talk me through that. Was it because she could sense your business acumen? Was it your passion? What made her decide to say, hey, you need to do this?
I need to ask her about that question. Someone else was asking about it. She was a sponsor for the Chinese New Year celebration for many years, and a very generous per. And then I was at the back end as a volunteer, always every year. So help her to translate it, get to the message out. And sometimes I go out, ask her for sponsors and donation, right? That's my role in the community in a way. And we got to know each other. She said, you are really good at it. And then one day I was translating with her on the stage about real estate. I got really smooth at the message. She said, you're hired. You should sell real estate. And then so I thought about it. And in 2018, because there was a change of me in 2017, Dad passed away. I actually, within a week, I quit the job at the time. I was at a newcomer center. I rented out all my rooms because I own a house. I have to go, and then I sold my car. I basically get rid of everything I had at that time, and I was going to move to China, take care of my dad. So in 2019, I stayed in China more than half a year. And then in February, I came back in here. There was something I needed to do to change. And then at that time, I had been working at the SJ Newcomer Center for 7 years.
Okay.
I thought I was going to be full-time in business because I needed some change. I needed to do something else. Because, when you have a dramatic case happened at a family, make you wonder, where are you going next? And Dad always wanted me to be in business.
Okay.
We even ran into a harsh discussion because he couldn't understand why I am in the called charity that he doesn't understand. Because you don't make much and then ends meet. And then when he saw my situation in life and in different ways, he couldn't understand. So that was some of our end conversation. I thought I need to do something else and then, maybe dig out inner self, see what I will make out.
Right.
So, but then in 2018, there was opportunity also came at the same time. And I was on business and consulting, worked on a huge project with Chinese partners and hired 12 people in New Brunswick to teach in China for 2 weeks. I was on that project earlier 2018, and then Prude opportunity came and offered opportunity for me to be their managing director at the same time. And then I had this real estate license that I'm going through. So all that happened in 2018.
Wow.
And
wow.
So that was, and I picked up everything and condensed everything. 2018 was a magic year as well. And I still remember when I was offered a job at Prude. It was only a part-time. I said, this is perfect. I take it. But then soon or later, the board recognized the value, and there was funders provided money, and I was working in there full-time, pick up things to run. And then we had a huge success after our hard work in that year for our annual diversity awards, a diversity champions awards at Prude. We had 250 people.
Oh my gosh.
Which was
That's fantastic.
Which was a historical number, although in 2019 we hit 400 people.
Oy.
So, and then that's another historical moment. And the tickets were sold out. I remember in 2018 we had to go purchase more tickets.
That's a good problem to have. That's a great problem to have.
Yes. So that was the journey. Later on started with Prude in 2018, 2019, and now, and through the pandemic. Of course, the organization has been grown. And at the same time, I was growing my real estate business. In my 3 years, I think I made it to be the top 1 this year. Last year was the top 3 in exit. And I sold quite many multi-millions of investments. Mostly worked with investors in the past 3 years.
So people won't call you to get money from you, but people won't call because you owe them money. But maybe if anyone that has Lee's number, they might call to get money.
Well, investors are very smart coming to the province. They also wanted to research who are the realtors they're working with.
Sure.
You know, and then so they look at a profile and who you are and how much you know, and then they are the people will not waste money or not wasting time to be on the phone, and or we do video chat and then
Sure.
talk about economy, talk about population growth, talk about infrastructure building, talk about our policy. And I love that stuff and had that and in me in the past 20 years because I've been involved in so many different aspects, including education, healthcare, and also our culture and then diversity. That's stuff I'm passionate at.
Yeah, it's stuff that you're phenomenal. You do phenomenally well. And so your success in real estate, would you say it's as successful as you wanted it to be?
I think so. Yeah, and then we can certainly do better. So my 2023 is going to be also magical because I think there's a lot more. The promise is on the growth. I just did a reposted Minister Arlene Dunn's post about how much this promise is investing in all those aspects right now. And then the promise is it's still struggling, but then we're facing the challenges. And then we are resolved the challenges we needed to move forward.
So talk about that for a minute. I'll stop you there. What kind of challenges are we facing?
Well, we have a lot of generational poverties, and that's one of the area I have to admit that I have not been in contact so much in my life because of my life experiences, because of the different background I have encountered. But I'm learning, and I always felt, how come this rich country, this first world country that still have this much of a poverty? And I think education is very important. We needed to educate people. Yesterday, I was talking with an educator, and then we needed to help people, how we can help people to get out the loophole, to understand, to have the inner drive, to motivate themselves. But it seemed to be people are sucked into the loopholes without understanding, I need to do better. I need to get to somewhere. I can do better. The mentality, the mental health is also challenging. If the people had been in the deep issue in their family, in generations, we needed to support our next generation to reach the understanding of you can do it. I often get motivated by Mr. Ralph Thomas. I still remember at a time, and he says it's the can do and will do power, right? And I still remember in 2018 we had we had really limited resources at a time when we were organizing the event. And he and I sit right beside, across the table. And then we said, we will do it. We can do it. That's the time. And also I was talking to someone myself and came with difficulty as well. Like when I graduated from UNB, I still owed tuition.
Yes.
And UNB allowed me to graduate with a trust in me. And at the time, if I would have to sleep 3 hours a day, work for 3 different jobs, running student council and volunteering, and then doing 7 courses, and I will make sure I get there. Like Ralph always say, people should think about if they want to be somebody someday. And do we have that inner drive? And among our New Brunswickers, like if you have that inner drive, you will make sure yourself get to somewhere, even though it's far away, and maybe 10 or 20 years after, you will. And at a time, I was just eating my instant noodles and peanut butter throughout the year, and instant noodles every day, and then can of sardines. I know I will have to go through the journey. I just have to jump and to the next level, and then after I finish this step. So I felt we need that into our younger generation. But parenting is very important. The parents are there to support. I'm lucky in the way mom and dad always say, you go ahead. And even before dad passed away, he said, the sky is limit. I trust you will be somewhere. And then for the way how you want to fly. So
that's beautifully, what a phenomenal story. That is phenomenal. Yeah. And so for you could see where you were going, and you knew that you were going to have to experience some hardship You knew that you're going to have to really, really work and plug away, and you did it. Do you think you've gotten to where you want to be, or do you think that there's still so much to be done?
So much to be done.
Like what?
Still, I quote Ralph Thomas' word, throwing mud on the wall and some's going to stay.
Yeah.
I'm working in building multiculturalism and diversity and treasuring our history and heritage in this region. But we are still very much of a minority. And I think there's indeed a lot more exposure, cultural exposure, and then exposure to differences we need to bring to all the citizens.
Okay.
And because that is very important to spark the interest and curiosity for people wanting to do things, wanting to taste the different food, wanting to meet with new friends, wanting to have a better life. If you don't have the motivation, don't have the sparks, and don't have the drive, don't have the curiosity, we're not going to change it we're not going to make this place a better place for all.
Absolutely.
So that's why I think culture and heritage, we can look the history in the past, but we're actually living in the present. We're in the making of the history. And the history is important to remind us what we can do better. Things will change.
Yes.
But we need to do campaign, and then we need more people coming to the province. We need to bring and treasure the diversity, because people will come. People will bring human capital, and will bring in economic money as a capital to invest.
Okay. And I want to talk a little bit about that piece, Lee. So you talked about New Brunswick, and you talked a lot about growth. So how are we growing more in New Brunswick? And do you think that while we're growing, that we're also growing more culturally and diversity?
I see that happening because, being here for 21 years, you do see the pattern, the trends, and the change. It's important for government to send the message that we need people, but it's also really said in the way that the message was sent out in the way we need a labor, we need you to come in to fill the job without looking beyond the richness of the culture can bring to our current population. So more to do than just filling in the labor needs and employment needs, but a lot more to do is to be proactive and recognize the values of the people can bring in, the dollars they can bring in for economic benefits, but also enrich the culture they will bring in to spark our current generation.
So before you were on, you probably heard Christine talking a little bit, and she talked about employers being able, if they were, that we could maybe do a better job at hiring diverse. Can you talk on that a little bit?
I think there are gaps in between how province wants to drive the changes and also what employers can do. Employers need a major support in terms of how, and also to have the awareness, recognize the values. There seems to be a kind of a doubt, even when you're receiving, at the time when you're receiving the resumes to the time you're onboarding your employees. There's a shift of culture, no matter we like it or not. The cultural aspect cannot be ignored. And in terms of how people behave, how people conduct interview, how their eye contact can be, and how's their facial structure, and how's their tone of voice, because they were taught in a certain way does not fit in the way that we are expecting, that you ignore their value and right from the get-go. And then when you're onboarding employees, we don't want it to set people to fail. And we want to have the adequate onboarding, so ensure they have the adequate understanding of what they're being expected to do.
Absolutely.
And also mid-level managers, I think it's very important for them to have a workplace bias recognition training, which Prude is offering. And then we have customized 7 to 9 different presentations that we do, and we have a continuous consultation. People would call if they might run into issues. The important is we need to hire diversity to spark the interest, to allow creativities to happen. And then overall, it will boost the benefit or dollar return.
Of course.
As a profit for
Sure.
business. Many employers who have experienced hiring diversity, they had the sweet taste already, and they wanted to hire more. But many more have not been touched in that area, and then they wanted to. Maybe they don't know how, and then, or if they had already onboarded employees, they don't know how to handle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And do you think there's any way that can be easier for folks, or is coming through Prude and getting some help with that? So I guess my question would be, can employers reach out and seek help through Prude? Or have you had experienced any situations where potential employers have been able to reach through your organization and be able to get the assistance needed to help with the onboarding processes?
Yeah, so our presentation were customized and to decision makers, and then to HRs, and to people at mid and higher levels, until you have the managers reach the understanding. Because yes, at the beginning you seem to have to step beyond, and then to do a little bit extra. If you have been in the HR role for 10 years, this is something you have never experienced.
Right.
Onboarding people who are from different cultural categories.
Right.
And so recognize the skills, values that underneath their resumes.
Yes.
And also onboarding them with meeting the expected outcome with your cultural aspect. I think also at a decision maker level and HR level, it needed to hire some diversity, because among the HRs, if you have colleagues are from different backgrounds, you're going to be learning from them. Doing presentation and training is one thing, to get into workshops and then to go to different cultural events. That's one thing. But the good thing is you can learn among the colleagues.
Right.
Prude can certainly and help and support with that step, but you have to have the willingness to have the drive, wanting to change.
Absolutely. And what about from a university perspective? So folks that are coming from abroad to Canada, and we'll just keep this focused on New Brunswick in particular, what about the education process? Do you find that transitioning for a lot of newcomers has been easy, or has there been a little bit of a gap there as well, to your knowledge?
So it depends on which program you're at, right? And then so if it's undergrad, then you have a longer time, and then to transition in life. Like back then, I had a even longer time. I could do summer jobs. I could work on and off campus while I was studying. If you would be at let's say MBA program or graduate study, you have 1 year or 2 year shot, or PhD is even busier. How would you get your hands or feet wet in the community? It's important in this place to get connected. And then we're social animals. You and I were connected. I can make a reference, and then, or you come to volunteer at a Prude, and then you gain the skills, and then you gain the knowledge of local culture. And that all values. At a time when you are looking for a job and then searching for a career, you can grab a couple reference letters and you gain a few social skills. It's important for students to remember that. I think it's both ways. The university needed to do more in terms of bridging them into the local culture. If UNB is wearing the responsibilities, helping people to stay, and the retention is on their radar, that helping New Brunswick to grow, and that should be the message. Or there should be roles and then to assist those students to know better of the services at a Prude, at a newcomer center,
Sure.
at YMCA, at Opportunity New Brunswick, at a PEDAL. There are employment counselors who can help them. But do they know those services available?
Maybe not always, no.
So it's very important. This society is very interesting. The system we have here in Canada, you have to apply yourself.
Yes.
Right? There are different benefits around, and there are different offices around, and a provincial level, municipal level, and there's a federal level that you have to know it, and then you have to apply for it. It's there, but if you don't know, or you don't know how, right? We love paperwork. You can sign your life away for many applications. It's important, and we can hold a hand of the people we wanted them to stay a little bit and making sure they will be succeeding their life in here and to help us to build a future.
That's what I was going to say. So helping folks become more comfortable, becoming more quaint and understanding will help the folks, and then it'll also give us a return of investment for the person as well, right?
Right. And then, so as for international students, well, they're the best people that we wanted them to stay. They're young, and then they can feel the workforce. They have knowledge. They have technology base, and then they probably would already paid everything that to settle in here and on their own. So they're readily equipped with everything we needed and to serve the community. Gave them the green light and let them shine through.
Absolutely. So now I'm going to switch subjects a little bit. Let's talk about, we talked a lot about diversity, culture, becoming quaint, but I want to talk a little bit about what got you on board with Prude in particular, and how does Prude's message coincide with your personal beliefs?
I particularly like the second question. My encounter with the Prude had to be dated back to 2005. And I spoke with Medium before about this. Prude and the Human Rights Commission, or the two organizations, stood alongside with me and UNB at that time and fought for the racism case against the Asian students. And so that was the time I got to know Prude. That happened in 2005.
Racism against the Chinese students. Talk about that.
Because we called egg incidents. There are newspapers, and then we also did a video on this. And for Prude's history, eggs were thrown onto students on University Avenue in 2018 multiple times, and the eggs were thrown to the bus stop because there was a glass barrier, specifically asking the Chinese student to go back and shouting at them. This was along University Avenue, happened 2 or 3 times at a time. And then I was on student council, and UNB reacted really quick. And then Prude and Human Rights Commission, also the city council. And we had held a council meeting. I called out help and to the mayor at the time, and also the council members. And Carl White was on the council, Jay Chang was on the council, McFarland was the mayor at the time. See, I remembered all this. We kept the contact and afterwards as well. We had to do something. We opened up a media-wide announcement, and then calling for help, calling that to stop and such stupidity that does not represent Sanjianer. So that was in 2005. Maybe that was the time when I really started getting involved in the community. So in Prude, and then I started working at a Prude. Well, not really, only started from 2018, because Sherry McCauley was a time of the cultural officer at a Prude. We often together as the perfect duet. 2 of us would deliver the diversity cultural presentation in the community. So we practice, and then I was working at SG Newcomer Center. She's working at a Prude, but both of us are trainers. We train diversity, we train culture, we train the minds, we do the game playing, and then we help people to understand how different aspects and communication and as well. We've done that together since from 2015 or 2013, I think, for quite a 3-5 years. Sure. In 2018, I started working at a Prude. So that's my time. How Prude message, I think it's me, and it's in me as well. When the board hired me, and then Karen Hashi, our current president, and also Ralph Thomas, and I was telling them at the time when I took the role at a Prude, it was my 20 years in China, born and raised, and then onto the next 20 years, live, study, work, volunteer, and doing business in here. So who am I? I'm a bridge. And so I have to bridge the 2 different cultural, 2 different experiences onto my future. And I think Prude is like that too. It's about a connection. And so we have such a great, solid community reputation in the community, led by the legendary figures and then our living representatives from the Black community, but now made the organization into multicultural and then welcome all diverse groups. Right, in the 40 years of making since 1981 was the year I was born, and so now we're on to embracing all cultures, and then we don't want to segregate any, and we want all to be happy and living in a harmony. And then so that's the vision of Approved, help with the full participation of all cultures in this community and in this region. So, and that's, I looked into myself, or I touched the mic, I looked into myself, that's who I am. And I'm a bridge, and I can blend it, all those aspects, and then make my life to be more fun.
That's phenomenal. And I think you're right, though. It shouldn't matter, where you're from or what color your skin is or what you look like. It's just, we all should just get away. It seems so simple, doesn't it? It seems like the most simple message ever, though, doesn't it? But yet we're still struggling with this. So I'm hoping that we can see even more done. And it sounds like so much has been happening already in terms of moving into the right direction and bridging. Would you say so?
Absolutely. And then Heritage Month like this, in the Black History Month in February, why we're doing this Heritage Month? We bring people together, very important. And then we need to face the challenges. We need to identify. We needed to bring up the conversations through panelists and talking, through bus tours in education, through book clubs and through film showings. We want to bring people together.
Have tough conversations too.
To have the conversation, to drive the actions. To drive the actions to see the outcomes. Until the challenges are faced, we will not move on to resolve the challenges, period. And then we have to show some actions, and then actions will be sparked from the conversation to start.
Absolutely. And what would you say in terms of Prude, how the growth has happened in the last few years? Because it's like crazy, the growth is amazing. Talk about that.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Prude is stepping into a different growth mode. And then when I took the role as the managing director, we were in a growth mode. While as the board and was carrying Prude in the past of 40 plus years, I said we're no longer wanting just to be in the survival mode. We needed sustainable growth.
Yes,
we must grow in a way we can sustain our future onto next 40 years. Either that's through growing the network, building partnerships, building our allies, our friends. We need to let people know what Prude has been up to. Don't you know we're sitting right here at this moment? We had a couple dozen of activities are going on during the Black History Month, and our officers are running in different places. And Gary Flanagan, who's our education coordinator, just told me to, like, every day right now we have 2 or 3 presentation requests, and then 13 bus tours are running in the city. And so many things are being worked and behind the scene, but people don't know. So we had worked on the media and the social media post, and also during COVID time that we did shifted the perspective from the traditional media and then to utilize the technology. I think all the members are up and learning new technology and then trying to engage the audiences, letting people know what we have been doing and letting partner know we want more partnership. We need your help and to help us to engage more diverse conversations.
Absolutely.
So the presentations are one thing, that's EDI part, and then we have a community project, and we engage conversations of the women who are facing challenges. Now in newcomer programs that Christine is leading, that's been going on for years, that we build connections for new arrivals to, who want to thrive in the future. The social media and the multimedia part, we have officers from different countries who brought in their knowledge base. Right now, the staff, we have about 10 staff from 9 different countries, and then We have age differences and gender aspects, and then we have LGBTQ, we have a men and women, we have 20 to 50 years old. And so we have people with a different social, economic background, academic knowledge base. We are a great bunch of diversity thinkers, trainers, and then change makers. Even among our staff, Christine and I were both awarded with the Diamond Jubilee Medal and follow the footsteps of Ralph Thomas. And even our board president, Karen Hashi, won the top award at RBC as a global citizen. So because her 15 years of dedication to this organization. So we have very diverse board member and from all aspects, businesses or in HRs and executive members and then people in the community who wanted to change. So I think we're in very different growth mode. And then not only we're onto sustainable growth, we're in line with the council's priority in this region, smart growth.
Smart growth. And so it sounds like we're well positioned.
I think so. And then our next thing, I do think Prude is in a unique position in this province. It's one of the kind organization that could help this province to grow with more awareness and education on equity, diversity, inclusion, training, workshop, or consultation. So
absolutely. And it definitely sounds like we're about to go there. So Lee, if anybody watching right now, we just have about 30 seconds left.
Sure.
If they want to get a hold of you in any sort of way to talk about this or to talk about real estate or to become part of Prude, is there any way for them to get a hold of you?
Definitely. Well, I'm wearing multiple hats. So for Prude, we're at 165 Union Street.
Okay.
And some people refer as Old Wendy's on Colbert and then Union in that corner.
Okay.
And we're on the 3rd floor. And then we can also be reached on the social media, 506-634-3088. And in terms of myself for real estate, you can always search Lee Song and then Google it. It will come up a few things. And my cell phone number as well. And then so that will be 639-7786 and calling for the needs. Either selling, buying, investing. I do have a line of investors are chasing after me, wanting to come to New Brunswick because It is a beautiful province.
Lee, thank you so much for your time today. Always a pleasure. Love you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.